once again, and thanks for listening. I'm Zoe Rosia Moreno, and this is Arquitectura, a podcast dedicated to the narrative and visual design and all its in-betweens. I hope you guys enjoy it. This show will be available on all podcast providers, so please give it a chance and subscribe. Every story has a logic where narrative is not the same. A similar concept is applied in all creative media, but it's especially true in the world of video games. Its definition is still complicated due to its novelty. An industry that is growing exponentially, where its origin has had several changes during the process of its way in the visual industry. Today's video games have become an inner part of modern society due to their adaptability in the creative field. Its audience grows more and more with the technological advancement. And it goes without saying that it could be the next step in the development of the generalization of the arts. Its particularity for exploration of modern literature has developed an immersive dimension that could converge the branches of creative design as the video game community matures and grows. In today's episode, we will talk about the elements that establish the narrative of video games, their plot, their story, and their possible development in media, where the growth of the medium will provide new resources for the designers of today. Enjoy! Hello, once again. This is a new episode of Arquitectura, and during my research process for today's talk, I decided to refresh my memory a bit about the industry. It seemed peculiar to me that when I started to search on the internet about studying video games, the first thing I found was questions about what you have to study in order to get a career in this medium. Apparently, there's still a lot of uncertainty despite the fact that there are already universities that have a curriculum that teaches the basis to become a video game designer. I also found a lot of questions on what to study to actually pass that curriculum. Many pages talk about taking philosophy, mathematics, literature, architecture, even public relationships. And that's what I saw the term generalist, and I remember how it relates to other branches of design. From my point of view as an architect, I think it's interesting to see these careers and their development, because in contrast, the curriculum that I had to learn from my own career was always very explicit. Since architecture is a matrix, mover, OG style career, its foundation is pretty solid. One could even say that has remained unchanged for centuries. Of course, there's new technologies, new philosophies, new policies. However, its roots have always remained anchored in time. And same applying to other careers that have been around for a long time. However, what about those careers that are fairly new? The development is an experience and it still seeks purpose. It's an experimental stage that makes the foundation still moldable and gives the opportunity to adapt to new tendencies a little bit quicker. When comparing both stages in curriculum, we can see them as an apprenticeship that could be applied to other branches so both can learn from each other and become something new maybe. Because visual narrative constantly creates conversations between creatives, and lately the discussion focused on the application of these new technologies. The world of video games is not only about entertainment. It is now expanding as a daily tool, and the truth is, it can already be described as the main media that uses a narrative as a point of development to a new level of storytelling. Video games have become interactive, empathetic, sensorial. Basically, it has reached the top boss fight level. Today's technology has given into this exploration of ideas to have a better manual on how to fine-tune all these branches of creative visuals that are now existent. And now you cannot talk about video games without mentioning the world of cinema or television due to their similarity in storytelling. Both are kind of relatively new in the history of visual narrative, so Examples like sci-fi, fantasy, and thriller have been genres that are applied in entertainment. At the same time, though, they have been analyzed differently, where the tools of each medium has developed their inner communication between the industries. Video games have managed to create this evolutionary system where the space-time parameters, along with the action and reaction pace, has given the user the ability to understand their environmental system. So what really separates this industry from the others is its ability to interact with the audience. The degree of immersion that a player has, basically the audience, see the story from a more personal point of view. It should be noted that today's video games market encompasses a $100,000 million industry, and almost 2/3 of families around the world know about the industry and use it on a regular basis. So again, it goes without saying that the industry is growing, and fast. Video games have become officially a new understanding of narrative, in a way that has created this symbiotic link with users, where now, thanks to the technology and the industry's language, they came to the conclusion that they need one another. Therefore, the illusion of having option is a peculiarity of the game world. It generates spaces where the narrative unfolds, basically. There's a time, a place, a coincidence, and even kind of like an argument of the why. All these parts culminate in a tangible network where the motivation gives reason to complete a level, to keep moving. Basically, obstacles versus rewards. It brings the products to a closure where the personal user is satisfied with the decisions that they can make. And that is the big difference between written stories and the video game world. Is an equilibrium where reality lies in the fundamental interaction of what we now call the gameplay setup. One of my first favorite memories is having played Kingdom Hearts from start to finish. This game comes from the company Square Enix, which in principle, they created as an experiment with the purpose of uniting international companies like Disney. They were testing this new generation of consoles, and they wanted to see how when you combine these animation styles into something maybe that it will be more pleasing to the masses worldwide. And oh boy, it was a resounding success, and the game became an icon of the industry culture. I remember that I grew fond of the characters that I never thought I could have even created a relationship. You can imagine Mickey, Donald, and Goofy with a Keyblade. Yep, that's the theme of the game. Keyblades, fights, and Heartless, and characters from Final Fantasy. But it's a crazy thing, but it's incredibly fun because of the progression, the complexity, the originality of the worlds. And I couldn't help but identify with the objective. And again, that's the point that I wanted to get to. Narrative as means of expression becomes more interesting when we can interact. It's what makes it special. Mobile games incorporate parts of reality along with fantastic themes that create empathy to the players. They take the time to surprise them with world innovations. In games like BioShock, Fallout, Call of Duty, Red Dead Redemption, and even Assassin's Creed, you have to have a little bit of knowledge of the culture that they're representing in these fictional worlds. That's why the narrative is so complex. In general, again, you have to have an understanding of visual media in order to create something that is consistent. And altogether, the ability for these new games to create their own new reality, so to speak. They provide the necessary balance for the model communication and they generate a system that works. That's why these worlds, despite being similar to our own, to our own conception of what is real, they still surprise the viewers. They feel that empathetic bond. They study what it means to take a step further. And they are still so fantastic that it allows us as the players to accept this new method of reality through their artistic expression. Even gaming, you have to see that they have to study psychology and the workings of the mind so they can accept this. And it keeps exploring so they can expand the connection for the global needs of the people that maybe are gonna interact with it in the future. The history of the origins of video games is convoluted and not as straightforward as you may think. Its purpose at the beginning was not what it is today. We go back at a time where technological advance towards the modernization of computers was in the horizon. Around the 1950s, a British academic named S. Douglas created one of the first games that today is known as tic-tac-toe, or more popular known as Tennis for Two. He did it to demonstrate his programming thesis, and in reality, his purpose was not based on being entertaining, but as a visual solution to a mathematical problem. So you can see how peculiar it is to see something created for a specific purpose, and how he's able to expand its use to new opportunities. A little bit later, the systems developed for these goals, they recognize an improvement of experience, and in the 60s, an American who had observed this method decided to create the first combat game. How strange, right? It is based on an interactive study of space and something to do with goals and rewards as an objective. He created these rudimentary controls, and it was the basis that developed the concept of what video game consoles will be. Incidentally, the name of this creator was Steve Russell. And already with the growth of interest for this prototype media, companies such as Sandler Associates began to observe computer trends in the industry. They were the first to create computing machines that had a creative outlet, where computers went beyond numbers. From there, many games began to be created as early as the 70s, but Atari was definitely the company that popularized the media when it released a home console that was user-friendly for the common folks. In the late 70s and early 80s, the video games were already becoming a common, well-known form of entertainment. There were stores packed with kids that would go to spend time, physical spaces where the level of interaction between peers grew. And the market continued to steadily develop, and people considered this game as a cool curiosity. They released tons of experimental video games with notable milestones that became part of the mainstream of a pop culture. However, during those times, they still don't have the graphics and computational capacity to create better games. And that caused a slowdown in the advancements of the industry for a couple of years. However, in the 1985, the industry recovered again with the creation of the NES, a Nintendo console. They began to improve visualization of visual graphics and the development of a franchise. The best known on that is Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, Mega Man, Castlevania, among others. And this is when the story begins to get a little bit more complicated, because now the companies realized the economic potential and started to develop the console war. From there, they launched several other franchises, more oriented toward combat styles such as Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, which is still today are considered to be controversial for the amount of violence in them, despite their success. From these games, there needed to be a new set of rules. That's how labels and plot lines were video games needed to be rated for their content. Then comes the 90s and the evolution of 3D modeling and CGI storytelling, and that was the time where video games began to become cultural icons to affect other industries. Now there were publicity stunts, mascot, popular reference to the storylines, and it was then that Sony began to dominate the market, taking it to the next generation. Now, in the present, there's other consoles such as Microsoft and the everlasting Nintendo, and all of them are battling the possible revenue among them. And now is the time that there's so many games to choose that the conversation has shifted on how this industry can branch out. Medicine especially has been the recipient of this media for the last few years. They want to combine the interaction of the particularity of video games and education to make the user experience easier to deal with. And I mean by this that the interactivity of the stories began to evolve into a three-dimensional system, and the visual narrative has adapted with this new reference of other branches of the industry. So basically, they're taking the advantage of technological development and the public need for it. And this is truer with the arrival of internet. Today's expansion grows exponentially in social networks and portable devices such as phones, tablets, and laptops, because the experience now is about bringing the everyday aspect of it to people. Even now that there's a new technological interactive leap for the masses, where the console now is trying to create this virtual reality or mixed reality part to test the new players and take them to a new level of storytelling. And as I said before, the initial purpose could have been applied to endless other things. It's our own imagination that will define the next step. It's history, it's structure, it's failures. They're all cumulative to the things that gave way to today's video games and this synchro reality that we're not living in. We are at a time where the ability to create video games is accessible to the public. The programs used to create these virtual worlds are free. It just needs a creative mind and the desire to learn. Softwares like Unity and Unreal Engine have been open for everyone and anyone who is interested and give their own the opportunity to try to understand it. And I think the purpose of behind all of this is that designers have the possibility to create their own virtual space. They're creating their own narrative. Sometimes something that was previously only accessible to people with a high knowledge of programming and math is now clearly simple enough that mostly everyone can do it. It's an ideal content for creators who are always looking to explore new trends. And it is by that way of reaching the market that the video game industry became this titan of graphic revolution in such a short period of time. Because the revolution is happening and the industry goes hand in hand with the visual medium. It continues to provide new windows and lead the way to create new media for the design world. These super corporations see now that this media is a viable way to include other industry in their roles. In other words, they want to generate more money, but at the same time, they want to have to give the possibility to small companies to create the content. There are discussions and complications with this, of course, but that's not a subject for another time. What we need to observe is that every day more and more of these big companies give way to more audiences and overall give a chance. Companies such as Apple and Google are entering this world with projects like Apple Arcade and Stadia. And even though they're experimental, their premise seems very promising. What I'm going with this conversation is that it can be understood that the narrative of video game began as something that it had to do with programming and mathematical story that slowly, with new perspectives, became a creative expression where creators had the opportunity to explore the limited settings in this new world of possibilities, where they can talk about its effects, is drama, is future, and the story is still developing. The point on this is that the theme is not only based on narrative and creation, or medium, or any of the such. It's about the process that has that purpose of mind but ended in another story altogether. Human ingenuity is what motivates this industry to move forward, where it can now educate other branches and have more tools to explore. Our ability as designers has helped us adapt. Even when I'm insistent that we evolve as professionals or even hobbyists, you can see that base careers, as I said before, like Matrix, or OG careers like architecture, food, fashion, literature, or mathematics, they talk to one another. And then, what's the next thing? The topic is discussed to develop a new evolutionary stage of creative expression. And it's only now that we're starting to understand these great computational capacities and our own ability to drive it. So when we talk about video games as the next big thing, it will be right to think that the importance of this medium lies on the ability to accommodate other branches and add to the method. It feeds on shared information and systems that recycle from one another. And even now with the internet, it's just about the right time to see this conversation through. Now is the time to learn new things online and improve specific skills. Now is the time that we have accessibility to the medium that we can create these new narratives. And however, one thing, education should not be born by itself. There are facilities that bring education to people, and they give certificates that provide assurance of the content given. Because there's only so much that self-learning can take you. It's about doing what you should be doing and know how you're learning, but so that's what some people say. But it's really good when you have a piece of info that tells that others that yes, this is something that you can do. I got a certificate, I got some type of education, professional education on this. So the final thoughts of this episode makes me think that the world is certainly developing rapidly in an exponential way. And we have to think on how to continue to adapt to these new technological methods that are probably not going to slow down. The communication between branches and the line between them seems to be fading. Being a specialist is not longer enough. In order to be really good and continue in the industry as professionals, you have to know a little about everything. As much as it costs me, and it pains me to say it because it seems like a little bit compromising, snobbish, is that we have to be the architects of the creative world. So, once again, the question of this day falls on the rhetoric. So, how do you, the listener, feel these technological advances? How do you think we can adopt this into our own design branches? What is being a generalist to you? And as always, these questions are answered, and it's just to keep the conversation going. So, and with this last phrase, I think we can end it here. So here it is, another episode of Architectura. I think this was a complicated episode for me to talk about because we continue to see the branches evolve. And when I say branches, it's all the visual medias and the potential in the near future. But it's all speculative. It is time to be pioneers and put our foot forward to move this industry. We have to continue learning about the symbolic scope of a computerized visual environment. This industry is demanding and it's growing, and it doesn't look that it's gonna slow its pace, even in the next few decades. Rather, it looks like it's picking up speed. Now it is the best time, the best opportunity in history to see what we can create with this interactive media. It goes beyond entertaining, beyond visual design as a tool, and even beyond money. This industry has the potential to create a new style of narrative and in general a new style of communication. And I think it will be. But hey, it's all speculation. So thank you once again for listening. And don't forget to go to iTunes and leave a little comment and those 5 stars so that more people can continue to join us in the community. We are growing and we're becoming this cool group of nerds or creatives or whatever you want to say. And the more crazy, at least in the creative type of outlet, the better. I am your host, Zoe Rusian Moreno, saying goodbye once again. See you in the next episode of Arquitectura. And as always, keep on creating and keep on listening because it's always fun and entertaining to see how you guys react to this. So thank you so much. Bye.